Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm gonna explain a very basic concept which is frequently asked in any React.js interviews. So I'm gonna clear one basic concept in this. This concept is basically related to JavaScript, not React. So if anyone is having good concepts in JavaScript, he will be able to answer this question very easily. So this is code in front of us. In this code, you can see a very basic React.js component where we have one count state variable which is initialized by 0, and then we have a use effect hook without any dependency, and in this use effect we have a loop with which is going to till 5, and on each iteration of a loop we have a set timeout callback function, and in that callback function we are initializing count variable. We are setting it with set count function with the I variable, and here in the template we are just rendering the count variable. So our main point here is related to the basic JavaScript concept, which is block scoping. Let me mention all these concepts here in comments. So first concept is block scoping. As we can recall that var has function scope, and let, or you can say const, these keywords variables have block scope. So that's why when we are using var variable here, var I is equal to 0, I less than 5, and then we are incrementing I plus plus on each iteration. And when we are here rendering count variable, here we can see that the output is 5. Why it is 5? This is our main concern. It is concern that because here we have var used here, and scope of I then becomes, because it has function scope, so that's why scope of I variable is this use effect callback whole function. And on each iteration of I, instead of creating new variable, a same variable is overwritten on each iteration. So this is our main concept. Let me write it as well. For var, on each iteration of I, same variable is overwritten. So that's why when this loop will end, what will be the value of I? Value of I will be 5 on each iteration, and on the last iteration 4 less than 5, it will be true, and again this set timeout callback function will be called, and after, when I plus plus 5 will become, then 5 less than 5, it this condition will get false. Iterator will not come here, but still the value of I will be 5. And when all these callbacks, these set timeout callbacks will come back from callback queue, let me recall you the that how JavaScript basically is runs. So you can assume that on each iteration of I is in the call stack, and when on each iteration set timeout callback is sent to web API, and then web API send those callbacks to callback queue. So in our callback queue we have basically 4 callbacks. Callback with value of 0, I value of 0 with callback with where I has value of 1, and then value of 2, and then value of 3, and then value of 4, and that's it. So these we have 5 callbacks in the callback queue, and when whole for loop is finished, then on the last, when last callback queue is returned from callback queue, at that time we have value of I is equal to 5, so we have value of output 5 here. Now let's see what happens in case of when we use let here. When we use let here, value is 4. It is in why it is like so, because let has block scope, and on each iteration of for loop, instead of same variable, a new variable is being created in the heap. Let me show you another image here. Here you can see there we have a call stack and we have heap as well. So variables are created in the heap. So on each iteration of for loop, a new variable is created in the heap instead of a same variable which was overwritten on each iteration in case of var. In case of let, a new variable is created. So on first iteration, a variable has a value of 0. On second iteration, a new variable is created in the heap, and that variable has value of 1, and then 2, and then 3, and then 4. And then in case when a new variable I has value of 4, the iterator will come here, and then when a new variable I has a value of 5, iterator will not come here because this condition will get false, and when condition will get false, this loop will end. So what was the value of the last variable? A last variable which was created in the heap, that variable had value 4. So that's why when last callback will come from callback queue, that at that time value of I was 4, and so that's why in this state variable value 4 will be set, and we can see value 4 here. So hope so I was able to explain this very well. I think I should explain this by showing values on each iteration as well. For let on each iteration, hmm, a new variable is created in the heap. So what will happen in case of iteration 1? In case of iteration 1, uh, in case of iteration 1, value of I is equal to 0, and what will go in the in web API and then in callback queue. In callback queue, this callback function will go, and in this let me write callback function in callback queue. This variable will be in callback queue in case of in iteration 0. Yes, we are setting count value 0, and in the same way we will keep going till iteration 4. Iteration 4 I value is 4. In case of 4, 4 is less than 5, this condition will get true, will come, and in callback queue we will have setting count of 4. In case of 5, this condition will get false, and we will not have any uh, callback in callback queue. So this was the last callback in callback queue. So when whole loop will end, what will happen? Remember that I am explaining this in case of let me write this as well. Iterations in case of let. So this was the last callback in callback queue in case of let, and here we are setting count equal to 4. So that's why we are seeing 4 here. But in case of var, when this loop will end, I value will have 5 because it was the same variable which was overwritten on each iteration, and this at that same variable will have value of 5. So when uh, when this callback will come from callback queue, at that time I has a value of 5, so we see 5 here. Hope so I was able to explain this very well, and see you in the next video for some another interesting concept of JavaScript.